Come with us on a great adventure discovering the Oregon coast. To begin this trip, we'll start near Cape Foulweather, north of Newport. Near the edge of this cliff, 500 feet above the sea, is perched a small gift shop called The Lookout. It enjoys a commanding view and is located near a historically significant place. Walking down this path to the front door, you'll notice to your left a sign attached to a fence that reads, "Where the History of Oregon Began." This is the place where one of the first Europeans, Captain James Cook, made his first sighting of the Oregon coast, and what he saw was this rocky outcropping. Because of the inclement weather, he called it Cape Foulweather. Even though Captain Cook was one of the first Europeans to sight the Oregon coast, it was actually here, further north in Tillamook Bay, where the first white explorer landed in the Oregon Territory. It was American fur trader Captain Robert Gray who, on August 14, 1788, sailed his ship into Tillamook Bay and dropped anchor. He was also the first to sail his ship up the Columbia River, which he named after his ship, the Columbia. Partly as a result of the findings of Captain Robert Gray, President Thomas Jefferson sent an overland expedition to the Oregon coast. It was organized in 1803 by Captain Meriwether Lewis and Captain William Clark. They put together a group of explorers that took about 18 months to reach the west coast. Sacagawea, a Shoshone woman, was hired because she was able to speak 3 Native American languages. Her help was an important key to the success of the expedition. The last half of the journey was made in dugout canoes similar to these. They came down the Snake River, which emptied into the Columbia, that eventually brought them to the Pacific coast. When their flotilla of canoes reached this point of land, actually on the Washington side of the Columbia, they realized that they were at the end of their journey. So they went ashore and made camp about 200 feet to the left of where this small church stands. They stayed in this place for about 10 days and traded with the Chinook natives that lived in a nearby village. It was determined that this was not a suitable place to spend the winter. The explorers decided to cross the river and travel up Young's Bay through what is now known as the Lewis and Clark River to this spot where they pulled their canoes ashore. About 200 yards up a hill, they built a stockade where they spent the winter. They called it Fort Clatsop after the friendly Indians who lived in the area. Because they left some fairly detailed drawings of the fort, it was possible to build a reasonably accurate replica on the same spot where the original stood. This gate at the rear of the compound was the one that led down to the spring where they got their water. This is the spring itself where the water comes out of the ground. On January 8, 1806, William Clark and some members of the expedition set out to find a beached whale they'd heard about that was on the other side of what is now called Tillamook Head. This wood carving commemorates the event. It's located in a small park overlooking the beach where the whale was found. When they arrived, the Indians were in the process of rendering out the whale blubber from a 105-foot-long whale. They purchased 2 gallons of oil and 300 pounds of blubber. This is Ecola Creek, which was named by William Clark. It's right here where the creek meets the ocean where they found the whale. A short distance from Ecola Creek, at the town of Seaside, is found what the local residents refer to as the Salt Works. It's the place where Lewis and Clark's men boiled seawater in order to make salt for their return journey. The 3 men that did the salt recovery began on January 2nd of 1806 and worked night and day until February 20th and were able to extract about 4 bushels of salt. This is a Clatsop Native American woman, Jenny Mitchell, who lived until 1905. She recalled her mother telling her about white men boiling seawater at this place. A few miles from Fort Clatsop is found this exact replica